Okay, welcome to what I think will be the first lecture video on Word. Microsoft Word is kind of an industry standard, so even if you're used to other programs, it's a good idea to have some familiarity with Word. Also, a lot of the conventions that Word has established translate to other softwares. And the other way to think about it, even if you're not a Word fan, is if you know that it's something you can do in Word, there's a good chance you can do it in other word processors like Google Docs. Okay, so I have the Word shortcut keys here. That's mostly what we're going to go over. There is a little bit of stuff on different ways to view things that I'll talk about, but mostly I'm going to just introduce you to a bunch of shortcuts. These over your lifetime will increase your productivity a lot just by giving you the means to do stuff more quickly. And it also, I think it makes you think better because your mind isn't distracted by going and grabbing the mouse or going to the menus. You can just, it's kind of like manipulating something that's right in front of you as opposed to going to the workbench and grabbing a tool and coming back. So I think it's worth your time to get better at them. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through some of the, just how to do some of these. I think probably half of these you'll know about, but it's kind of hard to know which ones you know and which you don't. So just hold on, and I guarantee you some of these you don't know. Okay, so one thing to know is when you want to do a screen where you're seeing half and half, one easy way to do that, you can do it with the mouse, but you can also, if I'm in this program, I can hit the the Windows key, and the left, oops, sorry, I did that wrong. I can hit the Windows key and the left arrow, and it'll slide it over to the right side. And then this other document I want to demonstrate stuff with, I'm going to hit the Windows key and the right key, and it slides it over to that side. Okay, I'm not going to be using a lot of the menu stuff up here, so I'm going to go and collapse the ribbon just to give me a little more real estate. Here we go. Okay, so most of you know there's the Control A key. So Control A will highlight everything in the document. Or in a table, it might highlight part of something or just everything in that table. But that's, you really want to realize that works across a great number of platforms and apps. Okay, and then another very common convention is this Control B, U, and I. So if I want to highlight, take this first paragraph and bold it, I can go Control B. If I go Control U, it's also underlined, Control I, etc. Anytime you want to back out of something, this is down here a little bit lower in the system stuff, but you should know you can go Control Z, and that will step you back out of whatever mistakes you just made. There's also the Control C, X, and V. There's multiple ways to do the copy and paste, but this is one of the quicker ones. If I want to just copy something, I can go Control C and then Control V to paste it. If, however, I want to move it, I can go Control X and then paste it wherever I want. And then I'm just going to go Control Z to move that back. Okay, so that's that one. The Control Find and Replace, Control F is extremely useful. So oftentimes, like if you go to a website and you're looking for something that deals with a specific thing, say this morning I was looking for stuff that dealt with the way Republicans responded to certain poll items that had to do with violence. So if I know violence is one of the words I'm looking at, I can go Control F and type violence, whatever the word is, and it'll find it. So most of you know that, but most of you probably are underutilizing that as a way to quickly find things. But say here you want to find some specific thing, like you wanted to see where you use the words dollars. If I go Control F, it'll find every instance of dollars, and I can go and navigate here and find other instances of that. What's also helpful is the Control H, where you can look for something and change it. So this is gonna be kind of goofy, but I'm just gonna change, let's do this. I'm gonna change and to and for less. I know that's nonsensical, but you'll see it work. So if I hit replace all, it'll go through and tell me how many replacements I made. Again, like other things I'm saying here, if you make a mistake and you don't want to do that, Control Z will back you out of that. There is a neat thing too where if you mess with this, you can have a lot of power to change things. So down here, you can change the formatting of different things. So I might want to change it so that every time there's an and, I'm going to highlight that for whatever reason. But if I replace all, it's going to find those ands and it's going to change them. So this is helpful for finding certain things and pulling it out or modifying it. But if you get used to using this, you can, especially when you're manipulating data, it comes in very handy. Okay, so that's Control find and replace. And then this is another one you'll see here when we navigate in a second, but Control backspace. Control key gives you a lot of, there's a lot you can do with the Control key. So here, like if I'm trying to delete something, I can do it just with the delete, but it works easier if I go Control and then I'm deleting one word at a time, and it just, it's a little, makes it quicker. So keep that in mind too, that you have that ability. One other thing, up here, I have the undo, delete. That's the same as Control Z. So if you forget it's Control Z, you can just look up here and see that. And then if I want to do something again, I'll talk about this in a second, but Control Y gives me that function. So a lot of the things I'm showing you, you can find up here in the menus and whatnot, but I'm trying to show you the shortcut keys. Okay, so let's move on here to navigate. So if I'm in this document here and I'm just showing you one page of it, it goes on for a bit. But if you want to go to the top of it, Control Home will take you there, and then going to the end, Control End will move you all the way to the end. So you can memorize these, but there's actually kind of some patterns that you'll see, but all these have to do with, or most of the navigation stuff have to do with the Control key. So Control Home and End to get you to the beginning and the end of the document. That's handy, especially if you have a large document. And in many web pages and other stuff, you go Control Home, it takes you to the upper right corner. Okay, one real handy thing is if I want to zip through and go paragraph to paragraph, I can just hold the Control key down and I use the up and down keys. So that's here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go Control, and I'm just going, you can notice I'm hopping to the beginning of the next paragraph as I do that. And if there's something on a different page, it'll go down and it'll go through each paragraph. The one I use all the time is the Control left right. So if you're working here in editing and you're wanting to move and select certain parts of it, say I'm like, oh, I don't like this sentence here. If I go Control right, it moves me one word at a time. But if I go Control Shift right, and I don't have that here in your guide, but just make a note of that. If I go Control Shift right, I can highlight that, so then I can cut that and move that to somewhere else. So again, Control left right moves me a word at a time. If I hold the Shift key down, I'm highlighting as I go, and then I can do something with that text that I've highlighted. All right, I'm going to move this. That doesn't really make sense there. So I'm going to move that down to here. We'll talk about that later. Sorry. Okay. So these control functions let you move and select text within a document. Those are really handy. The other ones that are really powerful is if you're dealing with an outline, you can use the Shift-Alt keys and the arrows to make changes. So one thing you can do is with the Shift-Alt, I can move a line up or down. Okay, so what I have here are, so you can see I have banana, and I can grab banana and I can move it up and down to wherever I want it. Or if I realize, if I'm thinking, you know what, I'm going to put onion up here, I can move it up like that. But that's very easy for sorting stuff that way. The other thing you can do is you can change something in terms of whether it's indented or not, or where it is in the outline or not. So one way of talking about that is promotion or demotion. Okay, so what I want to do, let's say, is have an outline here where I put bananas and other fruits. Tomatoes technically a fruit, I think, so I'm going to grab it here. But if I go Shift-Alt, I can move those out. And then once I have that whole group, I can also move it up or down. So that's really handy for moving stuff around. Carrots, lettuce, and onion, those are veggies. So I'm going to come down here, take the Shift and Alt, and I'm going to go, sorry. What's going on? Shift and Alt, move it to the left, and now I have it where I want it in this hierarchy outline. So when you're writing papers especially, it's really helpful to be able to make an outline and then kind of move stuff around as you change how you think about it. Okay, so to give you another example to extend the previous one a little bit, if you want to use headers, you can do it like this. So let's say I have some things here, fruits, bananas, red banana, ladyfinger banana, etc. I'm going to define 3 levels, and fruits is going to be my uppermost level. I'm going to make it bold and underline, and I'm going to increase the font size a little bit so it's a bit larger than the other ones. I think I want to make it 3 points larger. Did I do that? Yeah. Okay, so now with it highlighted, I'm going to go up here to heading 1. You might need to click this to see it, but it's up here. If you right-click on that, you can update heading 1 to match selection. Okay, so now that is heading 1. I'm going to now define heading 2. So banana is my heading 2. I'm going to make banana the same font and everything, but just indent it a little bit. So I do that with the ruler. And now I'm going to define that as my heading 2. Heading 3, I'm going to indent a little bit more. And then make it italics. And make it a little bit smaller. And then once I have that defined as I want it, I come up here to heading 3. Right click, and I update heading 3 to match the selection. Oops. Sorry, my computer's acting a little funny. Okay, so I got that defined. And now what I can do is go down to these different, the other ones, and make sure I define them as I want. So, and I can do that all with the Alt, Shift, and the arrow keys. So ladyfinger banana, I'm going to bring that in as heading number 3. Pear is a kind of fruit, so I want that at heading 2. Apples would also be, you have to mess with it a little bit. Apples would be heading 2. Granny Smith and these other one are going to be at heading 3, So I think I can highlight, let me see this. I think I can highlight this. I guess not. Okay, so I'm going to move those in. Gala, I'm going to move in. Blue Java Banana, I need to move up. So I'm going to do my Shift Alt and up, and then move it in. Let's see, Plantain, I need to do the same thing, move it up and in. Okay, then I got Orange Tomato. Veggies, I want to make a level 1 heading. Oh wait, I didn't move these in. There we go. Okay, and then carrots, onion. Should be able to do these all at once. Yeah, there we go. And then desserts, I'm going to make level 1. Okay, so now I have a level of the headings that is set. And the nice thing about this is if I'm writing a paper and I'm using these headings, if I decide to change one of these, like banana, let's say I want to change the font of level 2 to Bondschrift. Okay, so I change that to Bondschrift, and then I'm going to come in here and go to heading 2 and update heading 2 to match the selection. So then watch, that'll change all of my other heading level 2s to that same font. So that's one way of keeping things consistent across a long paper with your headings. Okay. Going back to our shortcut keys, let's look at how you increase font size. It's very easy just to highlight the text, and then it's Control and the bracket key. So here I can reduce it, and I'm going to turn on my ribbon. Whoops. So you can see here, if I highlight this, this is 16 and this is 17. Here's just a trick. If you highlight the whole thing and it doesn't show you one number, it means that there's different numbers. So this is 16 and that's 17. I can, if what I'm shooting for is 16, I can just highlight this whole thing and come up here and go 16. But if I want to make certain parts larger or smaller, I can take this section and go Control right bracket to make it larger. And I can similarly take this section, go Control left bracket and make it smaller. So that's a nice handy way to bump up or decrease the size of the font. You can also do the quickly change your line spacing. So if I want to change this all to single space, it's just Control 1. Oops, let me do that again. Actually, let me get this all the same to start with. So here's another trick. Just go up to the Format Painter, and then I'm going to paint all this. So it's all the same format. Okay. So if I come here and I go Control 1, it switches to single space. It was a little more before that. This is like 1.15. If you go Control 2, it's double space, and then Control 5, I think it's 1.5. So that's easy. And then this next one's real handy as well. If you are trying to center something, you can highlight it, Control E centers, Control R right justifies, and Control L left justifies. Okay, and then if I want to indent the paragraph, I can use Control M. So I would just come over here, highlight the paragraph, and hit M. Actually, if you're modifying the paragraph, you don't need to highlight the whole thing. You can just put it anywhere in the paragraph and it'll move over. If you go Control Shift M, it'll pull it back. So you can indent stuff as far as you want. And then the last one there, Control T, you can do a hanging indent, which is useful sometimes. Whoops. There we go. That's where the first line is out, and then you'll see that sometimes in reference sections. Okay, so there's some formatting tricks. The rest of the stuff, I don't think I'm really going to show you because it's pretty self-explanatory. But I'll just highlight some real useful ones. Control W works in a ton of different apps, and that just closes the whole document down. So that's real handy if you got a bunch of stuff open. You can just go Control W in different programs and it'll shut stuff down. I've already talked about Control Y and Z. Those are really handy, and they work again on a lot of platforms, especially Control Z. And then you can get to the print window. You can save. If you're working in a Microsoft product or something that's on your hard drive, you should get in the habit of hitting Control S often just to save your work as you go. If you're working in Google, of course, it's saving automatically. So if you're used to Google and you're in a Microsoft or some other hardware-based software, don't forget to do the Control Save thing so you don't lose your work. And a lot of these conventions, again, the system file ones work in different kinds of platforms. Okay, then just one last thing of some fun stuff here. If you want to split the screen so you can see two parts at once, there are faculty that don't know how to do this, but you can come up here to View and Split. And what that does is lets you have that section, and then you can have the other part of it open to a different part. This is real handy if you're working on reference sections, for example. You can see a citation up here, and then what the reference section is down below. So that's one thing here, the splitting. You can also hide the space between the pages. Whoops. Sorry. Okay. Hide the space between the pages. So the way that works, let me remove the split first. Remove split. Okay. So lots of times what Word is doing is giving you this break. And so in page view, I'm in page view right now, page layout, I can see how it's going to break. But oftentimes when you're working, you don't want that blank space there. You just want to see where the space is, see where the text is going to go. And you can just double click on that line to return it. But that way you kind of kill the margins and the space between the pages so you can see more of your work as you're going. So that's handy. Another thing is you can switch to web view. The nice thing about web layout view is it's just showing you the text. So it's not going to show you how it's on a page, but what you'll notice is if I shrink the size of the window, then the text shrinks as well. If you're in page print layout view, it gets cut off. So this is really helpful if you're trying to work on something and you want to see everything, like you're taking notes on one side of the screen and you've got something else open over here. So don't forget you have these view things down here. You can, of course, zoom in. Let me go back to the regular one. You can, of course, zoom in and zoom out with the little slider bar down here, but typically if you hold the Control key, you can make the mouse do that as well with the wheel. And that here, I did not put, let me fix this, Control plus mouse wheel does that. Okay. Let's save that quick with Control S. And then one other thing you should know if you're looking at what's going on in a document, this is especially helpful if you have a table. But up here, I'm going to have to go to full screen. Up here, you have this little paragraph symbol, and that shows you exactly where the paragraph breaks are. And that's really helpful if something's not showing up right, not rendering right. You can often diagnose it with that. You can get that same function from the keyboard with Control-Shift**. So if I go Control-Shift**, it'll have that stuff show up. But if you forget, it's just the paragraph symbol up there on the ribbon. Okay, so that's it. Please, if there are other things you'd like to be able to do in Word or shortcuts, that you don't know and you would like to, let me know the function and see if I can figure it out. Also, if there's one that you know that's very helpful that I haven't talked about, please share that so I can add that to the list. All right. One last thing, just to remind you, if you're in a window and you want it to go to one side or the other, Windows, left arrow key moves it over, Windows, right arrow key moves it over. You can also do that with drag and drop, but oftentimes the keyboard's faster if you do it that way. Okay, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed.